Dylan Mulvaney recently made a video talking about Jesus and her faith. Today's video we're going to be reacting to what Dylan said live, and then we're going to be talking about how we should discuss this topic with non-believers, with people who don't align with our values as a follower of Jesus. So make sure you stay for the whole entire video. We're going to be getting into it. What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It is your boy Jose. And here, guys, on this channel, we've just recently switched it up, so I appreciate you guys watching. If you're new, make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you've been here and you see the new type of content, you're like, what the heck's going on? Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. But yeah, so today, guys, as I mentioned, we're going to be talking about Dylan Mulvaney, who's a transgender person who was actually just talking about Jesus on TikTok recently, which I thought was very interesting. I haven't listened to it. All right, here we go.
Hi, I'm going to preface this video by saying this video might seem a little out of left field for me because I don't often speak about my faith on here. So if you are at all triggered by God or religion, you can totally keep on scrolling. I love you.
I'm going to cut it up to the
and if you're
main
still
parts.
here, where my Jesus girlies at? Hey, I am in a okay place with God right now, and I'm trying to find what my faith is after, kind of growing up in the church and then being really burned by it. And right now, God and I are like dating again. We're not exclusive and we're not living together, but we're in a good place. And I read something today that really got me thinking, because it was a journal entry from a few months ago when I was really going through a difficult situation. And it said, if God was real, why would God let this happen to me? And now I read it back and I thought back on that specific situation. And I am so grateful that I went through it. And I'm so much stronger because of it. And I actually thought maybe God was like the most present with me during that situation, because I needed to come out a changed person, someone that's stronger, someone that has learned something. And I am just so sick of these people trying to use God and religion against the queer and trans community. Like, we are not entitled to having any sort of faith. And a lot of the times a comment will be like, I hope you find God, or you need Jesus. And I'm like, honey, I found God and we're in cahoots. We're doing just fine. And a lot of the times too, really hateful commenters, I'll click on their profile and in their bios, they'll have a Bible quote and it'll be like, treat everyone, equally. I'm like, well, what the hell? What did you just leave in my caption or in my comments? And I also think there might be people, that don't particularly enjoy someone like me, and they might watch this video and say, well, that's Satan masquerading himself as a believer. And I sure hope not, because I do not fare well in extreme heat. But also, I don't feel evil. I don't feel like a bad person. And I would like to think that I can still have a relationship with some version of God. And I also kind of laugh thinking about those people, like, spending their whole lives hating a specific type of person. And then they check into heaven and they get their outfit on and then they get escorted to the cafeteria and there's assigned seating and they're seated next to like someone like me and they've got to just sit together eating for the rest of eternity. Can't wait. But I really think that maybe someone like me, people like me, maybe we're like a discrepancy in nature. Let me describe what I mean. Like, have you ever seen a flower before?
I'm gonna just stop right there, just because I'm gonna be here all day. Okay, this is good. A ton to unpack already. That's pretty interesting. Okay, so some of the stuff that Dylan's saying, right? Some of the terminology is interesting. Like, she wants to have a relationship with some version of God, right? We obviously know there's only one version of God. There's one true version of God. Anything else outside of what the Bible describes God to be is not God and is of Satan, really. We're held in our sin and we don't feel conviction because we don't actually know God. So if you know God, you're going to feel conviction when you sin. And in this case, like, you might not be feeling the conviction. You might not feel evil, because you don't actually have a relationship with God that would convict you when you're doing something wrong, right? Living this type of lifestyle doesn't honor the Lord. It's not godly. And it's honestly sad to see, right? Because this is painting the picture, and you see all the comments on here. We got all these comments on here. So proud of you. We're in cahoots. God's love is unconditional. You're a person struggling to reconcile with my faith. Thank you. So it's like this thing where like we're painting Dylan's painting the picture of God being okay with and affirming the lifestyle that she's chosen. And we know that the goal isn't to have God affirm our lifestyle. It's for us to live the life that he calls us to live, to die to ourselves, to die to our desires, right? Each and every day. And our desires aren't going to always align with what God wants. And that's where we have to die to ourselves and choose him each and every day. Because you love the Lord, you choose to live the way he wants us to live and how he tells us to live. And that anything outside of that where you're rebelling against him is sin. And in this case, honestly, the way that Dylan's painting this is making it seem like it's all okay. And yes, you can have a faith, but is probably not in Jesus. And I just pray that Jesus would open up Dylan's eyes. All right, let's see what else we got.
That you're like, holy crap, how can that color exist in nature? Like, how is that natural? Because a lot of people look at someone like me and they say that's a very unnatural person. And we look at this flower, or maybe it's a mountain that looks like it's carved from like a sculptor, from humans. You can't believe that would just exist in the world. Or a bird that sounds different than it looks. Like you hear it and then you go, oh my God, that does not match up. Maybe that's like someone like me. Maybe what's so crazy though is that usually when we look at those things in nature, we're fascinated by them. We admire them. We want to learn how that's possible. But when it comes to human forms that maybe have some discrepancies or a little different, we immediately want to turn away from what we don't understand and what we don't know. And I think maybe what if there was a way to find connection through faith? And what if I wasn't here as...
Okay, so the examples that he's giving are like they're interesting, right? So, but I think the biggest issue, the difference between the examples, the birds, the flowers that are different, are that those things weren't made in God's image, right? Those are beautiful things. Yes, the differences are great, but they're not made in God's image, which means that they don't have morality
evil
than the flowers.
What if I was here as something good? And I guess I just get really, really sad thinking that I'm not allowed to have a relationship with some higher power, or that I am the villain. I don't want to be Dylan the villain. I don't want to. And I think I just hope that any queer or trans person that like wants to have a relationship with something bigger than all of us feels like they can.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely can. Right now, you can seek him earnestly, like we had talked about earlier. These people should be seeking him earnestly, and he'll reveal himself to him. They just need to accept that, right? You need to know the cost of what you're accepting when you accept Christ for real. And I think a lot of people are not willing to give up their lifestyle, their preferences, them being their own God, to serve and be a slave to Christ.
And I don't know, that's where I'm at. But I love you, and I hope that wherever you're at with your faith is good. Let me know if maybe I don't know if I'm alone on this, or let me know if you feel similarly. But I hope you have a great weekend, and
Thanks.
I love you.
All right. So yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, guys, like, let me take this off. You need to be praying for Dylan, and everybody who's involved in that, because the last thing we want for these people to spend eternity distant from Jesus, not with him. And we need to have a heart of love and compassion to these people. That doesn't mean we're affirming. I think a lot of times the pride gets in the way of somebody when they try to approach somebody who's dealing and living in sin. It doesn't have to be this. It could be fornication. It could be alcohol. It could be a plethora of different sins that you could be living in. And we come from it from like a prideful, where it's like, I'm not doing that, so I'm going to tell you. But at the end of the day, it reminds me of this verse. This is the one, okay? Luke 18:10-14. This is a parable that Jesus spoke that I think I try to remember it and engraft it in my heart, so I know I can come humbly to the throne and in every situation. So it says, 2 men went up from the temple to pray. You guys can't see that, it's so little. Well, maybe it'll be okay, whatever. All right, so 2 men went up to the temple to pray. One Pharisee and the other was a tax collector, aka a sinful person. The Pharisee, the person who, he has no what a Pharisee is, stood by himself and prayed. He said, God, I thank you that I am not like other people, robbers, evildoers, adulterers, or even like this guy, this tax collector next to me. I fast twice a week and I give 1/10 of all I get. So this guy, by his perspective, he's doing the right thing. He's like, you know what? I'm not as bad as him. I'm doing what you tell me to do, so I'm good. Thank goodness. Thank you for not letting me be like that. But the tax collector, who was living in sin, technically, stood and he said he would not even look up to heaven because he had a reverence and a fear. But he beat his chest and said, God, have mercy on me. I am a sinner. And he said, I tell you that this man, rather than the other, went home justified before God. For all those who exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted. So yeah, we just need to come humbly. That doesn't mean that, just because this person, they could still be wrong. But they need to have a reverence. And they need to know that you're doing wrong. And you try to change it. But we need to come to these people humbly. Because if you try to exalt yourself, God's going to bring you down. I forget what the verse is. He exalts the humble and he humbles the proud, or something like that. So you got to remember that when we come to this topic. But yeah, guys, this is good. This is interesting. It's being talked about. I just want it to be talked about in a way that is true, right? We don't want to have people believe in a false Jesus that isn't actually even Jesus. Who do you say that I am, is what he asks. You're the Son of God. This is the word, and the word is true. We got to live by it. All right, guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. That was a little long one, but it was kind of fun to make. So I love talking. I need water. But let me know what you guys think. If you haven't subscribed already, make sure you do. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.